it's only been a few minutes since we came in with the first ambulance, and here is another army ambulance bringing in more COVID victims.
The Polish forces have responded with water, but also with gas. It's quite difficult to breathe.
Fully vaccinated Australians and Australian residents have now been able to come home from overseas quarantine-free for the first time in nearly 2 years.
The rising temperatures we're seeing could be kicking the Earth out of the cycle of ice ages that we've been in for the last couple of million years.
Riot police are now finally pushing people off the grounds and away from the Capitol building.
With every hour that passes, with every day that passes, the death toll here is increasing.
Most of the shops have been looted and lots of basic food stuff have all run out.
We just saw some tracer fire. Can you hear? Can our viewers hear?
It's time to leave. The fires are getting closer and closer to this village.
From the warmth of his reception to the potency of his message, this is a trip that could have a long-lasting legacy.
It's great to be back in Japan and reporting on the Olympics.
Well, day 2 here in Tokyo has produced some extraordinary performances.
Hello, this is BBC News with the latest headlines for viewers in the UK and around the world. Countries around the world are seeing in the new year with a bang, but some are holding scaled-back celebrations amid the spread of Omicron. This is the scene in the centre of the Spanish capital, Madrid, as the clock strikes midnight. Entire neighborhoods in the U.S. state of Colorado have been engulfed by flames as wildfires force tens of thousands of people to leave their homes. The UK Health Service warns of significant pressure in the coming weeks as COVID infections reach a new high.
The staff that are at work will be caring for more patients, trying to do more to cover for their missing colleagues, working extra hours, starting early, finishing late. The pressure will be immense.
Professor Chris Whitty is to be knighted in the UK's New Year's Honours List, and many Team GB Olympians, including Adam Peaty, are honoured too. And goodbye to a golden girl. The American actress and comedian Betty White has died just weeks before her 100th birthday. Hello, and New Year's Eve celebrations across the world have been scaled back as the more infectious Omicron variant continues to drive up cases. But despite that, the displays have been just as spectacular. This is the scene just now in Madrid, welcoming in 2022 in spectacular fashion. Don't those fireworks look wonderful? And we've seen scenes of some pretty big crowds gathered watching these fireworks in the centre of Madrid, in contrast to some places where main squares have been closed off entirely and people have been encouraged to stay away from the celebrations, to watch them from home perhaps. But this the scene live from Madrid as Spain welcomes in 2022. Well, here in the UK, the Prime Minister has urged people to take a COVID test before going to any celebrations. But with restrictions varying between the different nations of the UK, it's feared revellers from Scotland and Wales will cross into England to celebrate. Our correspondent Olivia Richwald reports from Carlisle in Cumbria, just 8 miles from the border with Scotland.
New Year's Eve in the border city. Carlisle Castle was once used to keep the Scots out. Now it welcomes them as they arrive in this centre. And earlier today, many Scots made the trip south.
There's nothing to do in the south of Scotland. So, I mean, this is the nearest place with stuff to do.
We're going to have a brilliant time, because that's what New Year's all about.
And they were ready to celebrate. The New Year's Eve party at the Holston Hotel was cancelled before Christmas to keep staff and customers safe. Tonight, the restaurant is busy and the rooms fully booked, many by Scots.
Tonight it'll be probably half of the central belt coming down. I think it's going to be busy. I think, Carlisle will complain a little bit, but secretly we'll be quite happy. It's money in the till.
Scotland, along with Wales and Northern Ireland, have all introduced some COVID restrictions over the festive period. And that makes border towns like Carlisle even more appealing for a night out.
There are a lot of both English and Scottish people out enjoying themselves in Carlisle tonight, and some of the Scots admit they have come here on purpose to avoid restrictions back home. But just walking up and down some of Carlisle's busiest streets, people are telling us it is quieter than they would expect.
The Scottish Government had asked people not to cross the border.
Where have you come from today?
Glasgow.
You come from Glasgow. Why have you come to Carlisle?
Because there's no restrictions. And all of our friends have COVID.
And were you put off by the fact that the government in Scotland said don't go to England?
No, definitely not. It encourages more.
You can drink down here, but you can't drink 6 miles down the road. It's not fair. It's not fair.
2 years of pandemic have been really tough, and tonight marks the start of a new year with fresh hope.
What's your message for New Year?
Love. One word, one life, live, love. Spread love. Happy New Year.
And that's one message which everyone across the UK can agree on. Olivia Richwald, BBC News, Carlisle.
Well, let's take a look at the scene in central London right now. Jean McKenzie is out and about for us, and quite a lot of people on the street. So I wonder, Jean, whether there are people trying to gather together in significant numbers, because clearly they've been discouraged from doing that, haven't they?
Yeah, it's an interesting picture here in central London tonight, because the main celebrations, the public celebrations that were planned, have been cancelled. So normally you'd have the big fireworks display along the River Thames. There were then plans for a smaller party here in Trafalgar Square, which is where we are now, and that's been cancelled. But as you can see, none of this has stopped people from coming out tonight. The streets are absolutely heaving. They have been getting busier and busier by the minute as we creep up to midnight. And what's interesting is most people now appear to be making their way down to the riverside, which is where you would normally see the fireworks, and a lot of people that we've been speaking to aren't aware that there isn't going to be that big public celebration. That's actually what they're still expecting.
OK, Jean, thank you very much. And let's cross to Edinburgh now. And James Shaw is there for us. Hello to you, James. And far from the usual hogmanay, unfortunately, in Edinburgh.
Yes, it's a really strange atmosphere in this city tonight. There is no big fireworks display here on the Edinburgh Castle Esplanade. There is no enormous street party. Normally there might be 80,000 people thronging the centre of Edinburgh. None of that, but nevertheless, as you might be able to see behind me, there is a sort of informal gathering of people starting to take place. The police are here just to keep an eye on things. They have actually told us that what people are doing here, gathering to informally welcome in 2022, is not illegal. They're not breaking the law by coming here. But many people are tempted clearly to do that because there is not an official street party. People are finding their own ways to mark the end of 2021 and mark the bells at midnight. There will be probably fireworks as well, small fireworks displays in the city below us to the south. But it's a strange kind of informal atmosphere, not like a full-blown hogmanay should be perhaps in Edinburgh.
James, thank you very much. James Shaw there.